Hi, I'm Jocelyn Kessler. People tell me I see the world a little differently, and maybe they're right. I've always been fascinated by the way humans and animals mirror each other, interact with each other, and even teach each other. That's why I started my podcast, Future Dog. It's about the strange, funny, and meaningful ways life connects us to our animals, our neighbors, and the chaos of our world and beyond. Each episode is a chance to see the world from a new angle, to laugh, to think, and to walk away seeing things just a little bit differently. So if you love animals, stories, or just looking at the world a little sideways, you're in the right place. Welcome to Future Dog. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Future Dog. I am your host, Jocelyn Kessler, and below my desk is Mary Grace, and to the left is Stuart, who has something very serious he has to finish. He is finishing dismantling a paper towel roll, which had to be done, and we got to do it before we can get going, which is interesting, leading me into the world of the supernatural, paranormal, spirit, dogs, and us. I'm finding lately that this is starting to be a hot topic. And I've got to be honest with you all that it was about a few weeks ago that I saw a clip on a film that's being released by IFC Films and Ben Lienberg, who produced with his wife and their dog Indy, I think is going to be a big hit, the new movie that's getting ready to come out. I believe the release date's October 3rd, and that movie is Good Boy. When I saw a mini clip of this, when it was just being pushed, I saw what a great hit it was at South by Southwest, and what everyone was really gushing over was how brilliant it was to shoot a movie with the POV or a point of view from the dog wholeheartedly. What the dog sees, feels, how they react, and what they're doing with that. So, and I'm hearing how dogs react in the back. I knew it. I said we had to have a backup paper towel roll. Here we go. Either way, the beauty about this film and why it's getting so much buzz and why I literally almost fell off my seat is because I have been waiting, I don't know how many years. I'm a big fan. Let's just stop right now. I'm a big fan of supernatural horror films. I love it. I'm not much about blood and guts and, you know, cutting people's heads off and stuff, but I am about spirit and invasion and all of that. I have an affinity for it. That's probably because a good amount of my earlier years in this business, I was called into a few cases that were a little funky, what they thought had to do with the paranormal, and it didn't, but then a couple that we still unexplained. So when I saw that this movie was well received and that it took almost 6 years to put together because they went according to the dog's name is Indy, to Indy's schedule, how he slept, how he ate, when he played, all of that, they would shoot this film in between, so it was as natural as possible. Which leads me to the questions that I get quite often is, do you believe that dogs in specific can see and read spirit energies from another dimension, paranormal, and higher frequencies? And that answer, without a doubt, is absolutely. It goes with everything I've always said, and I basically been trying to teach for the last 20 years of breaking human beings out of that box we live in. We're a society that if we're told by science that this happens or something happens or explains it by science, then we immediately can believe it. But if something is unexplained and we have to trust our gut or our feeling of what we can detect alone, then everyone attacks it. Well, then it can't be this, it can't be that. And I'm here to tell you that it's not all the time. Listen, horror movie or supernatural films, it's notorious that the beginning of just about every really good supernatural film or presence or spirits. When the family moves into the home, they immediately hook the dog by a chain outside this horrid house, right? The dog's barking. Why is Jack barking over and over, and he's on the chain? And anyone watching knows that in the next 20 minutes, that dog is going to be dead, right? The dog is always the first one to be killed off, usually in just about every possession film or spirit film. They're the first ones to go usually, or the first ones to indicate we have a fucking problem here. So when I saw this, I thought, how brilliant is it? So why do and how can our dogs see this? Well, already our animals have heightened senses. They see up and they can smell and hear up to 10,000, sometimes 100,000 times better than we can. Our dogs can hear people and sounds and approaching up to about 4 to 10 miles away by vibration. Our dogs have the ability to hear higher frequencies, right? Most often people will say to me, how do you know that about the dog or the animals? How do you feel that that's coming out in the world? It's a frequency, everyone. That is science-based. We have frequency. As human beings, we can tap into frequencies, and I believe that, and that's a whole other story for the human beings as a race, that we were programmed from the start to only be able to tap in to certain frequencies that allows us to keep us more or less in our basic reality. Dogs, in specific, are not meant like that. They have the ability to straddle higher frequencies, listen and pick up, detect higher vibrations. Okay, we know that. Well, we also know that roughly 74% of human beings reported in 24 to 25 that they had witnessed their dog or their cat have a reaction to spirit or what they believed was a visitor or energies that they just felt it. They know that their animals detected this energy and they are reacting to it. Problem is that unless we have science tell us about that and say that's absolutely true, we're never going to get some real foundation. That's why I was so excited by a film like this, because hopefully it leads us to other films, that it doesn't matter that it's an entertainment film, supernatural, it's a horror film, it's, Hollywood based, it's entertainment. Yes, so we're going to amp all the experiences up by a billion. But what it will, I believe, will leave with the public who watch it, and I think it's already happening, is that it's changing our viewpoints of the roles of our dogs in our lives. That they're more than just companions and we love to take a walk, and they can sense when we're ill, and they can take on our emotions when we're continually unhappy. All right, we're starting to find that's true. Yes, absolutely. At the same time, these little beings are the ultimate protectors, seers, and guides. And that's why it drives me so fucking crazy when I see stories about people who just blatantly either beat the shit out of their animals or they have no compassion for dogs as a whole. Because what you're doing is basically saying that you have no compassion for something bigger. Dogs, I believe, are a true gift and guide. They were known back by the Aztecs that they had dogs specifically because they could ward off dark spirit energies, ghosts, and because they can actually pick up the presence of an unwanted dark energy, which leads me to good boy. That's what's so great about it. Yes, the amping up, but what's getting the most buzz and that I love to see and what I constantly talk about is authenticity. We're in a society that needs to learn it. Because moving forward, authenticity is the way to go. If you're not living fully, honestly, and in your truest form, it's going to be really hard to not only take in what we're delivered by society, but to move forward and advance as a human being. That's just truth. We can't have all these advancements that we're going to, but negate how we use our minds and how we treat our animals, in specific dogs. They are in the moment, they are authentic. And even though this film took 6 years to make that way, one of the biggest buzz and one of the best reviews that I read was that this was the most authentic, true depiction played by a character in a movie, in entertainment, that anyone has seen in like almost a decade. And why is that? It happens to be, as the reviewer said, it happens to be a different species, but we'll take it. And that's what I love. And that is what I love that I'm starting to see about society now and the era that we're going into that I've waited for, where our dogs and our animals become our compass. We can no longer even fathom treating them badly or seeing them being mistreated when they are so vital and they're bigger, like God divine bigger, my friends, okay? So that was the beauty about this film, and they talked about it, that Indy was there also. Not only could he see what was invading into his human companion's life and what was coming and was brewing there, and it was of a frequency that he picked up that humans can't. It's a sound, it's a feeling, and I'm going to break it all down right to you. What is really your dog reacting to? The intention of the energy. That's it. It's not like my dog is seeing, right? You see dogs going up and down like this. They're looking over, right? That something's running around, and maybe they're starting to bark at a corner rapidly barking. It's the intention and the frequency they're barking at. So a dark energy or a spirit energy, if it comes in good, they're probably fine and it's nothing. If it's roaming around and in your sphere and it's dark, then there's the issue. That's the problem. There comes the reaction from the animal, right? It's no different than in the physical presence. In reality, if someone was trying to invade your home, a physical presence that, of course, you can see, everyone can see, then it would make sense, the rapid barking, the growling, running to the door. I'm protecting my home and my human. But in this case, if we don't have science saying, well, let me tell you, we took 24,000 dogs and, 5,000 of the 24,000 dogs in their brain, when we hooked them up, were actually digesting that they were seeing a physicality or an energy moving that is not in exactly this reality. Eventually, trust me, and we'll get it here at Future Dog. We'll find it, and all of my watchers, I'm sure, guys, send me in. We want your DMs. We want all your stories. I am sure we're going to be able to see that they've done a study to show what dogs can digest and see in a different frequency, right? So that's why I love this. It's not the amped up, it's that we can actually show human beings, hi little Mary Grace, about how important their presence is. And what people don't understand is, again, it could just be a Hollywood movie, right? But it isn't. This Ben Lienberg, this guy seems like a really good guy. And his wife, they live quietly, out of that state. He has a history of making pretty good movies. He knows the art of making a movie. I'm sure what he didn't know is the art of making a movie through the eyes of a dog, and it looks like he succeeded brilliantly. But how he succeeded in my eyes is what is yet to be seen, of the vibration of how this is the beginning of how the public as a whole and society changes their views, not only on themselves, but then on their dogs, and that they live in a bigger world than how we would like to let society think, right? We want to tell them how to think. We want to tell them the world is small, that there are not other realities, there are not other frequencies unless this happens or unless that happens. And dogs don't run that way. They run purely in the moment. And that's true. I'll tell you quickly because it doesn't happen often. And this is about, 8 years ago. I was called in to a home. They had a golden retriever, who they moved into a new house, and he would not stop barking in the basement, in the corner of the basement, looking at the wall, barking and scratching from the moment he got in the house. That's one incident. The same year, I had another call in because they thought their dog was haunted. The dog was haunted in a new house that they moved into. The dog will not get out from under the bed. This is a medium-sized mutt, would not leave, and while he's under the bed, he's scratching and running from one side to the other, trying to get through the wood. Okay, boom. 2 cases, same year. We're in the golden in that house. I'll tell you, most always, it's not haunting. I'd love to say it. I'd love it. I know there are a lot of also, communicators out there. Yes, there is spirit. There's a lot roaming around us. Okay, there's a lot that human beings are designed to not see. That's how this works. There's a lot of that roaming around. Is it always personally affecting the animal and the home? No, it can be mice in the wall, chipmunks, raccoons running up and down. In the case of the golden retriever, there was mice in the wall. They thought that it was spirit-oriented. I walked in, went downstairs. It was a great shot, a great scene in the corner of a basement that was unfinished. It was a great scene. I would have loved it to be spirit from the land or something that was ready to really shake it up. But it wasn't. In the end, it was mice. They found out. I led them to go look in the back of the wall. They had someone coming in, yada, yada. They cleaned the mice problem out. They never had an issue again. Back to the mutt, who I believe was named Alvin, and I may be mispronouncing, but under the bed in the new home, scratching under the floor. In that scenario, I felt it was energy and it was spirit underneath the ground in the home. Now, most people believe that ghosts and energies, or however you want to say it, the paranormal, it comes into house when they come in, or it's attached to the doll in the house. I mean, I would say more or less I found it, if anything, it's attached to the land underneath the home. That's why I spent so many years going and working on land with that. It's land underneath the home that was dark. A lot of deaths. Maybe someone was killed in many years prior on that land and never moved over the energy, and it resides and you have an issue. A lot of times it isn't, you can move it out, but a good amount of times there's not much we can do, and you may just have to move. Now, I know a lot of people are going to come running at me and say, that's not true. There's a lot of ways to remove energies, and trust me, I know just about every one, and I've done them. But in this specific case, we had a dog that was already having some neurological issues, but this reaction wasn't neurological. And we have energies, the darkest energies I have ever felt on land in my 20 years of working with people and animals. It was dark. It was causing behavior issues in the dog, above and beyond. The human beings were getting sick immediately. They were getting chronically ill. We had plumbing issues in the house. That's another sign. Pipes bursting, emotional issues. The house was falling apart from the moment they walked in, from the time they called me, and after. As much as I could clear and much we could do and everything we could solve with science or vets or doctors or people coming in and inspections of the home. As much as we could do, we got in a conclusion that it was time for them to move on. Now, I've never, ever in all my years seen it ever before, and they did. They put the house up for sale and they left. And I am just going to let you know that as soon as they left, the dog's mind got better, never scratched at the floor. Everyone's sicknesses were gone immediately, and that was that. Unexplained for sure. I've never seen it since, but it did happen, and it does happen. So in essence, I would say this: why I love where we're going and why I love this film. I have yet to see a whole film. I'm obviously not going to get a release on it, but in any clips I've seen, I have a pretty good understanding, and probably for spending the last 19 years in Los Angeles amongst huge entertainment group and creative people, to know that this is a really well done film, but well done with also an empathy put to our amazing dogs that are just so important to us and important to human beings' existence as a whole, whether you have a dog or not. If you believe in greater, if you believe in spirit, if you believe in universe and something bigger, if you even have the slightest belief in any of that, that we're just kind of here down running this, but something very big, something much bigger is running this. If you even have a iota of a belief in that, well, then you got to believe that these dogs are divine order. And maybe you got to change a little bit about how we view them, because they very well may save us as a whole in quite a few ways as a society. Keep us clear, keep us right, keep us happy, keep us focused, keep us aware. You know, if your dog doesn't like a certain place and lets you know right away, well, maybe you don't want to hang out there anymore, right? Maybe you bring your dogs in when you're looking at a new home. Does a dog walk right in, wagging his tail, loving it from room to room? Feels good? Good, you're in a good place. It's as simple as that. Does your dog, and I'm not counting the vet or the dog washer, does your dog not want to go into friends' homes or other people's houses or establishments they just don't want to go in, or they're scared to go in? That's something you need to look at. These are base premises that as human beings, we forget to honor. We have that feeling too. I don't know how many times I've had friends or clients say, I always knew that. Then why didn't you act on it? I don't know. I didn't trust it. And then I asked 5 other people what they thought. And then I decided not to go with what I thought. So let your dogs let you harness your gut reaction, right? Don't overthink it. Why can dogs see and feel bigger than, other than they're made up and they have a mechanism, and that's just the way they are over evolution of time, and this is the specialty that they have to see bigger than we do. But we also have an ability that if we can learn to stay in the moment and allow us to open up to other frequencies and trust who we are and the decisions we make and the important value of who we are down here and the animals that surround us and our dogs that surround us, and just let that be and then act off of that, you would all be pretty surprised at like the adventure you could go on. Let these dogs show you the way. You think you thought you heard something rustling? You think you felt an energy move in the room, and you know it was your grandmother who passed away 2 weeks ago, and you know it, you can feel it? Don't second guess it, feel it, address it, say hello, let your dog intervene, move on, stay protected, and that's it. We are moving into a time, my friends, that these things are not going to be so hard to discuss. We are moving in a time that we could use these gifts and traits that our dogs have to be that clean and clear in the moment, to be that solid in understanding who they are and what they're responding to. We can really use these tools. So I implore you, as I do at the end of every show, how can we learn and look at our dogs differently? Well, I'd say this. I know that Good Boy is releasing on October 3rd, even though I think IFC Films are trying to get it out earlier. I would say, go watch that film. Go watch it. And I think everyone thinks in the end there's going to be a sacrifice of the dog is going to sacrifice himself so his human being can no longer be a part of this darkness, and the darkness takes the dog. And what a great gift. And I think it's the opposite. We'll find out. I think the human being's going to sacrifice himself so the dog can stay. Let's see, I may be wrong, but I think the going thing is that the dog's going to go in and say, I'll let the dark energy take me if you can leave my human family alone. And I think it's going to be vice versa. And I would love to see that the human sacrifices themselves and lets the dog stay in the reality with the human that remains and healthy and happy. And that the human being says, I will sacrifice and go with that dark. You stay. Thank you. That's my guess. Again, could be wrong. I'm sure you'll all tell me. But I would say go out and watch it when it comes out. We're going to try to see if we can even speak to Ben Lienberg, who is the director, and his wife, Indy, because they were all in this together. And I'm not going to negate that. I would love to get them all. But if I don't, I hope this episode at least has you saying, you know what? I always knew they could feel that. I always knew that. And I always knew that in these rough times, it was my dog that kept me safe. I can't explain how. I don't know how it worked, but I know that. And I say to all of you that if you know that, you're also amongst the 74% that said, I don't care what you all say or science says or the vet says or the doctor says or all these people say, because they can't explain it. I know what my dog and I saw. I know what we went through, and I know the powers of my dog, and fuck you all, okay? That's what I implore you to do. And let's all get on this movement of bringing our dogs forthright to equally as us. Now they can entertain us. Now they can entertain us. And I bet Indy was really easy with craft services through that, right? I bet this was the easiest group to work with on this movie, was that dog, all in all. Good, happy personality, showed up when he needed to or had to, took a nap, everyone rested. I'm sure it was quite lovely. So let's be on that revolution of changing how we interact with our dogs, how we watch them entertain, how we learn about ourselves and our wellness and our psychology, and how we lessen the load on society as a whole as we move through really difficult times. All right, everyone. Good Boy comes out October 3rd. I'm excited. Let's go back to those Aztec days, right? The way they had dogs guarded like important artifacts. And when they had to work with great gods and goddesses from the past, they implemented their dogs as an in-between. When they wanted to know if it was going to rain or there was a drought or they couldn't work their fields or whatnot. A lot of the times it was from above, almost always, a great seer in town and their local animals. I don't know, there's something to it, right? We're in a time that the veil is thin. We could actually use that maybe real past basic shit, but I think we can start using it now. We'd be surprised how much we could probably heal society off of that. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me at Future Dog. As always, like and subscribe, and please write in. Really, we would love, we're new here, I'm new getting going. I would love all your comments, any stories you have, anything you think I should discuss, DMs, you name it, I got it. And Mary, she comes in at the end. I'm telling you, we can only negotiate this contract for the last 5 minutes. Mary has been very specific. We haven't had the right snacks here. She's a bit funky. We're switching agents. Yeah, you know how it is. And we had to do a lot of work to get this toy in general. So this is where we're at. Mary Grace, thanks you. I love you, Mary Grace. I know you're such a good girl. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me in Future Dogs. Stay tuned next time. We're going to start discussing, there's a new drug to get perhaps in 2026 to have your dog live longer, which is something we would all love. They live such a short life, kind of coming out the same time as human beings will have an opportunity to live much past their usual walk off this planet time. All right, thanks everyone. Have a good day. Bye.